This means that the UK has voted to leave the European Union.
By this referendum to leave the EU.
The Leave Party was celebrating, but for a women voter, it's not the same. So the after dozens of people was outside to protest, because it's 2 million of European citizens in employment who are asking what will happen to them. To this day, European workers could work in UK without visa. We went in London, where 60% of people vote Remain. The city is mostly pro-European Union. There are a lot of interaction with all European cities. So the Brexit will not be good for the economies and for the 40% of the population who is European. We have met a lecturer who is specialist in employment relations. She explained why these European workers come in London and what will happen for them after Brexit.
I think the fact that it's English speaking is attractive to many people. It's a very attractive city to live in. It has a lot of culture, a lot of entertainment. Very expensive, but it's very attractive, especially to young people. There's a lot of employment opportunities. I've mentioned just now the city, but big employment opportunities in the financial sector, but in many other sectors as well. There's a lot of coffee shops, there's a lot of small restaurants, fast food, and a lot of the people working there are from other EU countries, including France, but many from Central and Eastern Europe. And you ask people why they're working in this country. Many say they would have been unemployed in Italy or Spain or France and that they're able to find work here. Have people from those countries there, want Italians working at your Italian restaurant. But I think more generally it's a combination of the lack of labour market opportunities for young people and the attitude of employers. The government has proposed several things and we don't know exactly what will be agreed. Because it will have to be the equivalent for British citizens going to the other European Union countries. It will have to be some sort of compromise. I think most likely it will be a similar type of visa that now applies to people from outside European Union. But anyone who's employed in this country will have to have the same rights. There's no doubt about that.
London is a cosmopolitan city. People around the world come to find a good job, but they mostly start to work in workplaces like McDonald's, Five Guys, or places like that. The most part of those workers are Italian, French, or Spanish. Europeans come to have a better life than their country offers to them. We have met some European workers who live in London. They relate why they come here and what they expect about this city and their feeling about Brexit.
I came here like 3 years ago. I just from Spain, and I came here because there was no job in there. I was studying. I studied chemistry. So I just moved here. I'm doing money and improving my English level, and I can put more stuff on my CV. I'm chief manager in Itsu. It's a Japanese restaurant. I started 1 year and a half ago. I started working in McDonald's because my English level wasn't so good. So I started in the basic one and I've been there for 1 year, just getting experience, improving my English. I've met some people who left because of the Brexit stuff, but I think it's because there's no enough information actually about what's gonna be, how it's gonna happen. So basically I think there's just people are scared about it, and I don't think it's gonna change that much. I think basically it's gonna be the same. Just we're gonna lose some benefits and that's it.
We have met a teacher who is from Germany, but now she lives in London with her husband and 2 children. They are both British. She relates why she comes in London 16 years ago and what she thinks about Brexit, and reveal some incident about xenophobia.
First I came because I was a student, so I went to university here. It was very expensive to come here, so I worked, but not at university. I worked in bars and pubs, any sort of job I could get when I moved here. And I thought it was a very vibrant, lively city, sort of like when they say about New York, the city that never sleeps. London is very similar. There's always things going on, there are festivals, activities, you can always find a bar or a pub. And for a young person, it was perfect because, you know, even if you finished work late, you could always go for a drink and meet up with friends, and there were night buses and things to take you home, so it was very lively. I've had a couple experiences where people have been outright hostile and have said, oh, you shouldn't be here, you should be moving somewhere else, why don't you go back to Germany, you're taking away jobs. And then I say, well, I'm teaching, I'm lecturing British students as well as other students. You wouldn't find someone with my level of expertise who could just do the job. It's not like you can kick me out and somebody else would do the same job. I have my German passport, my husband has his German passport, and it was an EU passport, so it never bothered us or mattered. My children have British passports. We never thought we needed to get them a German passport, but since Brexit we are terrified that we won't be allowed to stay here and they won't be allowed to go to Germany with us. So they've now got both passports, and I've applied for the British passport, which is a lot of kerfuffle and unnecessary, but it just gives me some certainty.
So one question stays in suspense. What will really happen for European in London after the Brexit? The government had found a compromise in 8 December for the right of European. Theresa May writes an open letter to reassure European. They will have to do a residence statute if they want to stay and work. And the 17th of January, Members of Parliament adopt the draft law of Brexit. Even if a lot of Europeans left the country after the announcement of Brexit, mostly will stay in London because the city adopts them. The spirit of London, it's not something you can forget. The Brexit will not hand up the energy of Londoners for their city.
Should I stay or should I go?